trying to support and trying to help the growth and the value creation that she was trying to develop, and that's how it was like feeling very natural not only to be involved from a personal time perspective, which is something that I also do, right, in terms of advising or mentoring and so on, but also saying, okay, then it does make sense also to support from an economic perspective, because I do think that the one that can, I do think that we have a responsibility, right, to actually foster growth and development. There are so many talented young people out there, and that the girl, it was a girl actually, the first startup that I supported.
This is Female Business Angel Podcast.
Your go-to destination if you're a business angel or would like to get into angel investing and don't know where to start.
Or if you just want to find out how we tick. We're Tina and Katja, both business angels from Berlin. Well, I'm a VC now. We will interview established female business angels about how they got started and how it is going, including all the best tips and tricks.
So get ready for some insider stories and personal empowering moments and revelations with these incredible women.
Welcome to this journey with us.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the summer special of our podcast. Before we head into the well-deserved summer break, which we promise will not be too long, we will be back with you in September, recharged, energized, and with new great episodes. But for now, please enjoy this interview, which we recorded with Veronica Diquattro, who dialed in straight from Sicily. We hope you can feel summerly Italian vibes and great energy that Veronica has. And we're sure you will enjoy this interview as much as we did. Hi. Welcome to Female Business Angels podcast. Today we are having our first Italian guest. Ciao, Veronica.
Ciao a tutti. Hi, Katja. Thank you for having me here.
Nice to see you again and nice to be talking to you again. So
likewise.
You are dialing in from Sicily, right? And
yes,
based in Milan, in the business capital of Italy. And I'm dialing in from Scene. It's a pre-seed fund here in Berlin, investing in early stage startups. And they kindly let us record this amazing podcast from their rooftop studio. It's very hot here as well. Probably it's like Sicily temperature. So it's going to be a shorter episode, I'd say. So Vera, please tell us about yourself. Tell us about your career. And
sure.
How you got into business angeling.
Absolutely. So first, I'm really excited to be here. So thank you, Katja, again for this opportunity. So I'm Veronica. I'm currently Chief Revenue Officer for Europe for DAZN, which is a streaming sports service. After having had the opportunity to actually launch from zero the platform in Italy first and then in Spain back in 2018. I got actually into the streaming sector after an experience in Spotify, where we actually had the opportunity to meet and work together, where I was the managing director for Southern and Eastern Europe after launching the market as well, the Italian market as well, back in 2012. So when no one really was still talking about streaming, especially music. Talking about business angels, which obviously is the reason why we are here, I actually started back in 2018, first as an individual investor for a startup that I got to know through my network. It was a babysitting marketplace. And then I discovered the wonderful world of the business angel networks. And I've joined to a couple of those, which I felt that were very much aligned in terms of mission and values. And specifically, I'm very active with two that are called, one is the Angels4Women, so investing in a women startup with female founders or female majority of management.
Focused on Italy, right? Or Southern Europe?
On Italy. There are some startups that are also international, but with some obviously Italian founders. So the majority is coming from the market. And another network is Angels4Impact, which is instead focusing on strong innovative and technological content that is actually having an impact either from a social, medical, or environmental perspective.
Yeah, and now you're a young mom. So I like the fact that you started to prepare for it 4 years ago by investing in a babysitting marketplace.
Exactly. When I didn't have a clue where I would go, to. Yes, but I started from there. It's funny. Yes.
You got a glimpse, like from the business perspective, from the investor's perspective. And how the first investment happened through like personal connections. Where did the inspiration come from? So did they just approach you and told you like, okay, we'd love to have you on board? Or were you thinking about becoming an investor by, seeing what, for example, our colleagues were doing in Stockholm and, posting about it? That was
I would say it was more like natural, as you said. So, and the fact that I first got to know the entrepreneur that was beyond this like babysitting marketplace through the digital network that I was taking part to in Italy, and I just got so involved and passionate on trying to support and trying to help the growth and the value creation that she was trying to develop, and that's how it was like feeling very natural not only to be involved from a personal time perspective, which is something that I also do, right, in terms of advising or mentoring and so on, but also saying, okay, then it does make sense also to support from an economic perspective, because I do think that the one that can, I do think that we have a responsibility, right, to actually foster growth and development. There are so many talented young people out there, and that the girl, it was a girl actually, the first startup that I supported, just needed to have a bit of support, right, in the right moment, in the right way, and I feel that if we can do it, we should really do it, because it's amazing, what can be coming, what can get out of those ideas and those innovation.
And I really like this like your approach and way of thinking of like almost like civic responsibility. So if you can go and support like in all senses. With like time, money, connections, I don't know, brain power, and everything. And so, did the startup flourish? Like 4 years later, are you happy with your involvement back in the days? And how did it evolve from that?
Yes, it grew. Yes, absolutely. It grew, and obviously, it was also like a great learning, because it was the first time. So that helped me a lot in also understanding what are the elements that we need to look at, what are the right approaches, also for the following investment. And I would say also actually being part of like the network helped a lot also to compensate some areas or things that we didn't know at the beginning, right? So to actually rely on the network of other investors, especially during the processes of like due diligence, that critical steps that may be relevant. So to also like get support and rely on others for the things that you don't know at the beginning, which is normal at the beginning of a journey.
Tell us about this network. So it was Angels4Women, I guess, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, yeah. So yes, so and they're they're very active and is growing a lot. When we started, back in 2019, we were around probably 20 women being part of that. Now, I think we are more than 50, 60, and also involving companies in it, right? To be supported and to get visibility of what we are doing. So I think that there is still a great opportunity to expand it. And the fact that they're focusing on the female aspect as well as the other one that is focusing on the impact, I think it's also help us to target and focus our efforts, which is something that I really like, and it very much aligned with what I wanna bring back right into the world. So that's how I got involved, and that's why I'm very passionate and committed to them.
And how is the investment thesis? Is it supporting female entrepreneurs only? So it's Italian, successful Italian executives and investors and founders supporting Italian female founders. Is that right?
Now I would say that it become a little bit more open. It started like this, but then in the network now you also have men, which I think it's important, right? But to be supportive, right, of the female founders and the female management, and they're not just the entrepreneur of top management, but it's started also to be open to wider network, which is, I think it's also important, right, because we keep on spreading the awareness, right, on business angel and how it can also be something accessible to more and more people if you are passionate about innovation and technology, for example, as we are.
What's are there any misconceptions in regards to business angels in Italy? Because, for example, in Spain, I've spoken to a few people, and some of them, they told me they made really bad experiences in terms of people lost money, or it was a bit of, so it was not as professional as it is in the US, in the UK, I don't know, in the Northern Europe. It was a bit of you asked some people, so they put money into your startup and then you hire your whole family and, your cousin has an insanely huge salary. So are there any misconceptions of that kind, or is it more professional and is it
I think, yeah. I think there are still some misconceptions. I think few of them are, for example, the fact that you necessarily have to invest lots of money, which is not always the case, right? Because you do have some of these networks that have some accessible, ticket. Obviously, it depends. It's all relative, right? But it's not maybe the original idea is either you come in with hundreds, right? Otherwise, you can't be part of that. And, this is one. And then the second, I think, is also probably the fact that the return of investment, is saying, that money are kind of lost money necessarily, right? Again, that is not really understanding the time frame that you need to take into account when you do those type of investment, right? You need to understand that obviously it's mid longer term to get an exit, to get a return.
It's not a liquid investment, and it's not the best asset class out there. Yeah, for sure.
Correct. So I think those elements, they're still a little bit, not understanding, and we need to evangelize, right? On yes, the return can be there, right? Obviously, you need to do the right due diligence, and you need to spend time to also understand and scope the market. But is not coming tomorrow, right? You need to be willing to be there for the mid long term.
Yeah, and how do you approach due diligence? What are you looking at? What are the most important things for you? Or do you have some secret recommendations on what to be aware of, some red flags?
Yeah, so I would say that for me, I started from the things that I knew, right? So I started from, for example, startups that I had either in terms of business model or the sector related, obviously, to media or to premium subscription. So starting from the thing that I knew, because obviously it had to be a little bit more comfortable, right? As
a subscription specialist, so for sure.
Exactly. So as a first step, but then I realized pretty quickly the importance of diversifying your portfolio of investment. Because what I felt that was very naturally happening is that sometimes you just fell in love with some startup, which is fine because you also need to follow your gut feeling in believing very much in the idea, but then at least the diversifying in terms of the sector, in terms of the stage of development, in terms also of the business model, I think is critical. It's very important because at least this keeps lower your risk, right, of where you're putting your money. So I think this is something very important that I learned after the first years. And then another thing that I would say, which I think is key, is always to look at the team, so the people, right? So if you remember, Martin Lorentzon was always saying, the idea is a small percentage, and then the rest is actually the execution and implementation. It's totally like this, right? In the sense that people are the number one driver that is gonna make it successful or not, because from them, it's gonna depend the way they're gonna face challenges, the way they're gonna react to changes. So you need to really believe and be comfortable with the founder or the management team that you're investing in. So I think this is another very important factor.
The team, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, people make things happen. So people invent companies and concepts, countries, everything. So the funds and ideas, and it's the bet on people, especially in this very, very early stages. And what are other investments you'd like to tell us about or highlight? So I mean, you've been doing this for 4 years. So babysitter marketplace, what else?
Yes, I've invested in health tech, which I'm very passionate about. So specifically psychology online platform, which is called Serenis. Mm-hmm. They've started in Italy, and obviously there is the ambition also to expand to other markets. And I think I feel very close to that, because I do think that is also important to spread the awareness and accessibility of psychological support, especially during those difficult years that we've been going through.
I could not agree more.
Yes. Then I've invested, and this going back also to the diversification of sector. I've invested in sport training app, live and on demand. As well, they are started in Italy, and they're also live in Spain, and they're called Buddyfit, which is very cool and very interesting, because it's also expanding in the concept of wellness, so including meditation, for example, and then also in tech education. I'm talking about that is a startup that is providing support for young high school kids in deciding their best path for career choice, and also developing this potentially to other levels of education. And then completely different, I've also invested in a sustainable fashion app, IoT solution for farming.
The Renoon investment, that's the one we share.
Renoon, exactly. Yeah. The one I wish they're amazing. For example, they are
I love Iris. Yeah, Iris Kamis. Best friend.
Great, exactly. And another one that comes up into my mind, which is also linked to the concept of sustainability, is a startup that produce building materials from rice waste.
Wow!
Yeah. So that's again very important, right? In the current situation, find alternatives materials.
Yeah. I can definitely see the. Kind of a common thread with you being a subscription specialist in music and in sports, moving towards health and edtech subscriptions, and then with a focus on sustainability, making the life better for us on the planet, from the mental and physical standpoint, but also helping to save the planet by investing into the recycled construction materials. So I think it's great. And may I ask, do all these teams have a female founder on board, or is
Majority of those, yes. All of them are part of the sports app. Now that I think about it, but all the rest, yes, yes, because also majority of them they are coming from the Angels4Women network.
Okay, so that's how you source the deals, and then you decide if you buy in. It's a bit of a syndicate approach, right? But I think that's how Renoon deal worked. So if you are based in Italy and you would like to get involved into angel investing, maybe just Google Angels4Women. We will post the link as well on our podcast and get involved, so you don't have to invest immediately. I assume you can is it a Slack channel you ladies have? Or
you
what
can participate to, like the meetings. We're still doing it in a hybrid mode right now, so you can either come in presence or join online and just get to know the people and the network for the first meetings to get an idea of what we do.
So get involved, like Zoom calls and hang out with Vero and Antonella and the other 50, 60 people. That's a lot. That's really good. And figure out if that's for you. And you mentioned, so you invested in this education advisor. I mean, you've had an impressive career so far. For me, you've always been like a role model and someone I admired, like how quickly you moved from Google to Spotify, from Spotify to DAZN, launching markets, like countries, territories, continents, speaking on all conferences, speaking to journalists. So how did you envision yourself when you were a child? Where are you where you wanted to be right now? Or could you have ever imagined you would be an international executive doing angel investments?
Well, you're too good, Katia. Too good. Thank you for your kind words. Well, if I think when I was a child, when I was at university, no, I didn't have a clue where I would have been, in terms of sector or role or companies. I think what I knew was that I was very passionate about consumer behaviors. So more on the psychological aspects. Actually, at the beginning, I was not sure if doing economics as university or psychology. So I think it very much came from that in really understanding the way people behave. And then from there, it was like very natural to like focusing on innovation and technology, which most of the time are the driver of either expanding or changing or supporting a behave right in a consumer, in a user, and that from there it was like finding the amazing match right in also joining companies that were driving some of those changes with the technology. So meeting my passion, for behavior, users, changing in the dynamics of the market, but also technology and innovation.
So you followed your passion and you followed your heart, and then the rest happened. And I guess also, so if you follow your passion, you also attract like the right people and ideas, maybe, and then it's the winning mix.
Exactly. I think it's exactly the important thing is, like not being scared or like also thinking that if you are taking a step that doesn't necessarily go in the direction that you want to, doesn't mean that you're not learning something, right? So also trying to understand that everything you do is adding value, right, to your package of like experience and knowledge and so on, and one way or another is gonna get you where you want, right? So the trajectory is not linear, as we know, is very much up and down. But then there is always a reason for this up and down. At least that happened for me, right? And then ultimately, like you got to a place that actually made sense because it was putting all the elements together.
Yeah, looking backwards, you always see it, but maybe not at the moment.
Not while you are in there. Exactly.
To remind yourself. And so we always ask this question in our podcast since we're approaching like towards the end slowly. If you could change just one thing like in this world, like what would it be? Because so you told like, okay, follow your passion. It has to make sense to you and to your personal development. It has to make sense for the humanity as well, I guess, like people surrounding you. So what would you change if you could change one thing in how society works, how we live, what's going on?
I think, very honestly, I think we are in general running out of time, really, from all perspective, right? For everything that is happening, geopolitical, like the environmental situation, and so on. So, if I could think about one thing, would be the speed. The speed in which we move, right? The speed for everyone to understand what's happening and taking actions. So that to me is really what is like every day almost like bothering me and say, why can we not do that now already, right? So I feel obviously that technology and innovation had in driving some of the things that happen until today, and can be a driver, right? Also in accelerating the things that needs to be done. But I think that we need to give more space to actually the ones that can have an impact for a wider benefit. So that's what I would want to see more. Yeah.
So shift from the bureaucracy and politics to change makers and tech entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Correct. It's the public sector, right? And government and public sector that really need to open the door and let people in that actually understand how they could do things and have an impact. That's, the way I feel it.
Yeah, maybe I can hear there between the lines, like your next project, maybe not immediately, but in a couple of years, becoming like also an activist, like just a bit outside of the business world as well, and trying to make an impact in society as a whole. I totally agree with you. We are very slow. Like if we look what's happening with the environmental protection, with the geopolitical situation, which affects financial situation and the business world, of course, and the mental state of almost everyone on this planet, and especially us in Europe right now. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to join your cause. So
great. We'll do it together, Katia.
Yeah. We are all together. And for maybe like what advice would you give to the aspiring business angels? So if someone wants to get involved, what would be like the 3 things you would recommend to start with?
So I would say first, talk to other business angels like as soon as possible. So for example, like get to know and get part of like these networks, because it's always an inspiration. Second, I would say like not be too scared about what may happen, because everything can be rationalized and you can take a small step. And third, use it also as a great source of learning, because the truth is that it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because you're learning a lot of things and you're getting a lot of energy as well from the teams and from the talent. So, business angel is actually, you are also getting a great value from being a business angel. So I would say this.
It's not just giving, it's also receiving. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, well, thank you so much. I think it's, you are an inspiration and it's been very insightful. Thank you for being our first Italian guest. We hope we will have at least one more. Yeah, great to have you on our podcast and in our network. And we are excited to see your next move soon.
Thank you so much, Katia. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, my dear.
Ciao,
ciao.
Ciao a tutti.
Alla prossima.
Alla prossima.